What's up, Starcraft fans? Today, we're going to do the tier list for Rest in Peace on Void Thrashing. The map is Void Thrashing, where I've destroyed 10 Void Thrashers. The mutators are propagators, you know them. They spawn from enemy buildings, they crawl towards your forces, and anything they touch that belongs to you or your ally instantly dies. Doesn't matter if it's a hero, a building, or a unit, it will die right away if it gets touched by a propagator, and then you'll have more propagators to fight. Moment of silence. Any heroic enemy unit that dies, be it a hybrid, be it Thrasher, be it Propagator, they will emit a blast 9 radius wide that will prevent all your units from attacking or performing actions or abilities. So with me are Tutu and Sticksbender. How are you guys today? Great. Nice.
I exist.
We exist. Congrats.
Yes.
So here's how we'll go about it today. As Tutu recommended, it sounds fair to rank these commanders based on how well they deal with the map itself, and more importantly, how easily they deal with propagators. So S rank would naturally be for commanders who can deal with the map and the propagators easily. A rank would be for commanders who can deal with both but have slightly more involvement. B would be for commanders who can do one or the other, but not both easily. Because, you need to do both to be considered well-rounded enough to enter the S tier. And then lower, as Sticksbend recommended, if you don't have hit scan, if you don't have decent range that can take out the propagators before they touch you, you will have points taken away and you will go lower into those ranks. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Alright, so here's how we'll go about it. So, Sticksbender, what do you put Abathur as?
Abathur. I'm gonna let Tutu go first here. I'm not sure that much about Abathur.
Right.
Don't know much about Abathur.
Abathur for me gets A because once you have a brutalist, you can just walk around and let the symbiotes kill the poop, if assuming that they don't step on the toxic nests. And later on, you use Leviathans to clear the map from the sides. And you can also add Guardians and Devourers to help you with the offense. Guardians are good against Propagators because they have very long range. And if necessary, you can use Vipers, but I don't think that's really necessary. So you can do it easily, but you have to kind of work. You can do both.
Alright. Anything to respond to that?
That seems sensible. His Guardians outrange Moment of Silence. They have more than 9 range, so that's nice.
Yeah.
His Toxic Nests are obviously structured, so they don't acknowledge Moment of Silence, and they will blow up Propagators quite handily. Their activation radius is longer than Propagator attack radius, so you don't have to worry about Propagators eating your Toxic Nests as long as they're actually armed. Either way, once they're armed, they're unrevealable anyways, so anyone can't attack them either way. So yeah, you have Toxic Nest for early game. One question I would ask, because I don't remember this, can symbiotes attack if their host Ultimate Evolution is hit by Moment of Silence?
Well, they can attack through Fatal Attraction, so I assume that they can as well. My concern with symbiotes, though, is that they're not as long range as some of the other stuff that are normally used to fight propagators. So, like, I have experience trying to kite a propagator away from my Brutalisk. It's not easy. You can very easily wander slightly too close. You can do it.
The margin for error is not great.
It's not easy. It's not easy at all. So, if you say A, I believe you, but I'm personally inclined to put it more towards B. But since obviously you've played all commanders,
I'm kind of inclined to say B because of the fact that it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
Just on raw difficulty alone, I would be inclined to put Abathur at B.
Yeah. Do you have an appeal, Tutu?
That's just I don't have any problems playing Abathur, so I don't know like the struggles people face.
Yep.
But yeah.
Well, based on
you just for props, you can just dump Toxic Nests along their path.
That's what I would expect. That's honestly what I would expect. Like with Speed Freaks, it can be a little tricky since sometimes they run past. But without Speed Freaks, the Toxics are pretty effective. So I still think they're A, but not because you can kite them with Brutalisks. But
The
yeah.
kiting of Brutalisk is the emergency response.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so given that, I mean, we can always reverse it later. Anyway, Alarak, 2-2. What do you think?
Alarak gets A because, well, only for P3. If it's not P3, then he has to work a lot more. Because in the beginning, you start with a mothership, and the mothership has a long attack. Like, you can kill the prop from afar, and it can clear pretty easily. Later on, you get Wrathwalkers, and you just run around while the props try to slowly crawl toward you. And you can also use all of this to push the enemy base.
Yeah,
And
Wrathwalkers.
Yes, and you can also, if a prop gets close, you just overcharge a building, and then it'll die.
All right. How about you, Stickspender?
Same thing, only I don't think you need to be P3 for Alarak to really be A tier. Yeah, the other sets will like make you either a little more dependent on structure overcharge, or B, you're going to be dependent on using the Alarak hero unit, which means you have to be careful that he doesn't try to melee attack a propagator, because he will do that, and that will not be good for his health. But if you're careful with him and make sure you don't let him go off attacking on his own, hold position as your friend, his destructive wave will knock back propagators, which is very convenient.
Okay, I'll take your words for it for now. I just have to say, from the perspective of someone who's not in the top 1% of players, kiting is pretty difficult. Kiting propagators is pretty difficult, just because it's so unforgiving. One
I don't
mistake.
think you really have to kite that much of the mothership anyway, since the mothership two-shots them.
Also, because you're just the Wrathwalkers, you're not really attack moving, you're just walking.
Yeah, but like it takes a while to get to Wrathwalkers. Like, I think you need to fight 3 propagators.
I think the reality is, remember, if you are not confident in your ability to kite, then just wait till it comes within like 15 range, is it, of a building, and then overcharge that building, and then it dies.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because
All right. So
overcharge has a billion range.
So
and ability
Alarak's
to heal.
options here are either A, Mothership, with Wrathwalkers, or if you don't have P3, you can go straight to Wrathwalkers, and the overcharge should be enough. If you're worried about the early ones, what I've seen Ankalagan do is that he patrols a single worker in front of the base, and the poop just follows that propagator. So maybe that would be enough to give you that safety of letting your overcharge do the work. Anyway, Artie.
Artanis is in a rough spot. His only hit scan is immortals, which don't have that great of range. And also, if a propagator touches one, like already, if a propagator touches you as Artanis, it's going to be a really bad day. Because of Moment of Silence, and your units are all super, super slow, so you can't exactly run away from a propagator train. But also, your immortals are expensive, so if you lose them start losing them to propagators, that's really bad. You have one long-range option, and that's Tempests. Unfortunately, if you do go Tempest, you're going to run into the problem that, well, normally Tempests are really well accompanied by Zealots. You can't really use Zealots very easily because propagators, and also, like, even if you are trying to avoid engaging propagators, well, you can't like use Zealots when attacking bases, because next you're going to be attacking a base, and then a propagator is going to spawn from a structure right next to your Zealots, and then your Zealots are all going to immediately start running towards that propagator. And now you have a bunch of propagators you can't kill. If you're using P3, which is what goes well with Tempest, your Archons are going to get eaten by propagators. It's just a pain.
Tutu, what do you say?
I pick B because he can, in the early game, use Dragoons, and you get like 8 to 10 Dragoons, and you can kite the...
That's what I thought as well. I thought Dragoons.
And then later
Dragoons
on,
are the best option.
The third set, you get Tempest, and then 4 of the 10 Thrashers die to a solar bombardment. So you just hit the far ones and then use Tempest on the rest of them.
Yes, I can see how that would work.
I would probably vouch for sticking with Master Dragoons throughout the entire game.
Yes, I think for the average player, Master Dragoons will not fail you as long as you're on top of producing them and you're on top of the minimap, knowing that the poops are coming and running toward them in time to intercept them. You can use Tempest. They are pretty good for this map because you can get out of range of the propagators, but like, it's another control group that you have to manage. And if you're watching this and you need help with Void Thrashing or with this mutation, you're probably not the kind who are going to use more than one control group. given that, I actually think Artanis, he can be B, but I don't know. I think he's C, just because.
I kind of lean towards C as well. The only argument I could see for putting him in B is one simple thing that he does have going for him. If a propagator spawns on the opposite side of the map from where your army is, you can always just drop your power field and warp in enough dragoons to kill that propagator instantly.
Yeah.
No warning, you need no you don't even need control groups for that. You need because you just place the power field, select your warp gates. That's already a hotkey. You don't need control groups for that. Warp in a bunch of dragoons, and then you can add those to F2, whatever. Doesn't matter what you're doing if the dragoons you have selected on the other side of the map, if they're walking towards this propagator. You have the dragoons here to kill this propagator. And then you can figure about regrouping your army later.
Let's put him in C for now, and then we can see later.
C for now.
B for now?
C for now, I think. I see
fine.
C for now.
Alright. So, Arcturus, Stickspender.
He has ESOs.
Yeah.
Those solve everything.
Yeah, I agree.
He has bunkers.
Yes, it's CAD.
Those solve propagators because you can't be mobile with silence while you're in a bunker, and the bunkers are hit scan, and the bunkers are extremely DPS dense, so it's easy to get enough bunkers to kill like a ridiculous number of propagators. Basically, Mansk is S tier here, I think, if you know that your entire purpose in life is buildings. You build buildings and you stick troopers in those buildings. You don't try to fight outside of your buildings. You stay at home and stay safe.
2-2, what do you say?
S tier, same reasons.
Alright. We're all in agreement. It's unanimous. Once again, he is S tier because of Earth Splitters. So, do you guys really need more explanation? Earth Splitters. Earth Splitters, then everything dies. You see a poop coming toward you, Earth Splitter it. You see a wave coming toward you, Earth Splitter it. You see the hybrid, you see Aemon's face, Earth Splitter it. Use Earth Splitters and everything. Dehaka.
You can give yourself a challenge.
The only advice I would give for Arcturus Manx is to, if you're wondering where the Earth Splitters go, the way to reach every single Thrasher is once you clear out the middle area.
The first Thrasher.
You just stick it in the middle where the first Thrasher was. Once you get that cleared out, just in case anyone's wondering where to put their Earth Splitters.
All right, Dehaka, 2-2.
Haka, A or B, around A or B, because
Creeper hosts.
Creeper hosts are good.
Yeah.
And the pack leaders aren't affected by Moment of Silence.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, that's actually good.
So
They're
it's like, yeah.
Because I was about to ask, how well do Creeper hosts handle two propagators next to each other?
Not very well. So if they are next to each other, you have to
use a pack
kill
leader.
one. Yeah, no, you kill one, and then you run the rest of the creeper hosts, like the locust, away, and then you send a second wave to finish it.
Okay.
If that happens.
That's a little
I don't have much confidence in people to have the responsiveness to like target down one, then grab all the swarm host creepers and quickly run them away before they become a second propagator.
Well, alternatively, he can send creepers toward the first one and make Dehaka eat the second one. That'll also fix it.
Yes.
That'll also
He also
fix it.
forgot about the eating.
Yeah.
The early ones, you just eat all of them.
So is he A?
Assuming you don't run into the problem of Dehaka eats the first one too soon, and then all your creepers are silenced, and then basically if there are two together, unless you have good micro, you're gonna need a pack leader for two together, I think.
So what, B?
I would say B, because I think the ease with which you can screw yourself over is a little too high.
Okay.
Yes, two?
Yeah, I think I agree that
All right.
there's you can mess up easily.
That's Dehaka. How about Fenix? Stickspender.
A really rough time here. So by the way, technically you can actually on paper with regular propagators, not from silence, get enough carriers to kill propagators with carriers. It won't work here. If anyone was thinking about that, it won't work here because of Moment of Silence. So all you're left with is I don't know, Colossi.
Wouldn't Mass Adepts work similarly as Dragoons?
Mass Adepts. Well, here's the problem with Adepts is that they have half the range of Dragoons, and Propagators are actually slightly ranged. And that slight range on Propagators is like 50% of Talus's range.
Okay, so how about you?
It's really
Tutu?
bad.
How about you, Tutu? What do you think?
D.
B?
tier.
D?
D.
All right.
We're looking at D or E on Phoenix. That's what I'm thinking. It's either E or D.
I agree.
Dog tier.
Yeah.
Well,
Dog tier.
So what I did was, Warbringer can handle the props by himself, and then
that's smart.
everyone,
Ooh.
and then you use the other champions. I used P1, so you use the Phoenix suits against the waves, and then
All right.
for the first two sets, you used Caldalis, Taldarin, and then Warbringer and Talus, and then for the third and fourth set, you mass carriers. But
yes.
Because if you mass carriers, you don't have to really pay attention as long as you pay attention to the timer of when the next prop will spawn.
Sounds very involved.
And that sounds like you're asking people to know the propagator spawn times, because I definitely didn't memorize that. Yeah.
That's why he's D.
Honestly, I would argue Phoenix is E. He's really rough.
We can put him down there later. We can worry about it later. All right.
I'm okay with that.
Hot and Horner. How about you, Tutu? Hot and Horner.
Reapers are hit scan, everyone.
Six can go first.
Yeah. Reapers are hit scan. Hellion Tarbomb does slow propagators as well, right? I'm not imagining that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, remember how I mentioned that Tarbomb is amazing? Tarbomb's still amazing, guys.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the strategy used, they could kind of be Hot and Horror could kind of be like almost Artanis level. Because he can Hellion slightly better or way better?
Quite a bit better. Reapers are hit scan and fast.
So
and Hellions are. Here's the thing. Reaper, like pretty much all your units, all your Han units can actually outrun propagators. Artanis's units, his Dragoons can outrun propagators. But
so are they B?
They're B, honestly.
How about you?
I'd put them at B.
What do you think?
Same level as Artanis, because you don't. I didn't make any Reapers, because even though the Hellions deal less damage, but they have the slow ability, so you can just hit them a little more time.
What I actually like to do is mix in Reapers with Hellions, because the Hellions just need to hit one tar bomb, and then the rest would be from the Reapers. But I would
probably do like a 3-to-1 ratio of Reapers to Hellions personally.
Something like that.
For offense, you use battle cruisers, and they have so much HP with his and her, the significant others. Yeah, so then you just have a lot of HP, and you can focus on killing props while BCs just kill the Thrashers.
Yeah, let's put him as well. Assuming if you get +3 weapons, you need +3 weapons for this to be the case. But if you get +3 weapons, Yamato battle cruisers, 2-shot propagators. You need +3 weapons for that though. So get that +3 weapons. So your Yamato 2-shots them.
We'll leave them at B for now, and then we can decide later if they belong there. Karax. Solar Celestial. Do we assume P3 here?
I think we always assume P3 because P3 is always
really
the best.
P2 is because you rely on Zealots earlier on, and they just cannot fight propagators.
Yeah. Also, like Karax's greatest strength here is that Kadaran monoliths are one of the easiest propagator defenses ever. And if you are P2, you don't have Kadaran monoliths, so that's a real pain in the butt.
What do you say?
Yeah, I would say he's probably B tier, and I would go for building Karax. I would say just forget units I would forget units altogether and rely primarily on pockets of Kadaran monoliths. I would make sure I never had anytime I warp in a structure, I commit to warping in at least 3 monoliths there.
How
so
does
that
Karax...
if a propagator shows up,
how does Karax go on offense though?
Your buildings warp in instantly.
Oh, remember? So just tower push.
I would tower push. And here's the thing: the best building for tower pushing with is Kadaran monoliths. The building that's great at killing propagators is monoliths. So you're basically just going to be mass monolith. Is basically your strategy as Karax, I think.
So how about you, Tutu? Do you agree?
S tier.
S tier.
He's so easy and stress-free because you just put at least 3 monoliths and some cannons. Then you get an observer and you blast the Thrashers.
They'll never approach you.
like you stop waves with your. If you have an ally, it's even easier. But if you're by yourself, you just stop waves with your static D, and you're not spending any. You're not making units, so all your money goes to replacing static D.
That makes
And that's
sense.
it.
Okay.
So,
Honestly, I can agree with S tier. I was just being very conservative of Karax because I was like, you know what? I'm not. I don't have that much experience with build tower push Karax, so I always have to be like I kind of felt like a little apprehensive of I might be overestimating things or
Overrating, yeah.
underestimating certain challenges.
my
So I was
concern is
very conservative and put him in B. But yeah, I also was thinking like he's really good.
my
So
primary
yeah,
concern
if
is
Tutu
really
says S tier, I almost would believe that. S tier seems a little generous for how hard it'll be to hit the
little
Thrashers.
generous.
I would probably put him top of A.
my only concern is going up the ramps. Like,
Yeah.
unlike Arcturus, Karax actually has to go up the ramps if you want a tower push. He has to go up 2 ramps, the 3rd set and the 4th set of Thrashers. But if you say if you say that he can do it as easily as Arcturus does, then I don't really have anything to say against that. But you do need Solar Celestial, don't you? Or it's not even.
You have to have enough. You have to have enough Spirit of Dune energy, so it has to be P3.
Well,
Okay.
are you Tutu? Are you assuming that you're not actually even going to tower push into the base? You're just going to Spirit of Doom snipe Thrashers.
Yes. That's what I did.
Ah.
I just stay home.
Well, that makes it easy.
Yeah, so you don't
That
have to.
works.
Okay, if you have enough energy.
If you have that much energy, then that does make it easy.
Yeah.
All right, that
'Cause
makes sense.
I spend zero energy defending waves because I let my buildings die and I just make more because I have so much money.
Right, so Spirit of
then-
Doom for offense and towers for defense. That makes sense.
Yes.
All right,
So,
of Doom.
in conclusion,
can't wait to try it out.
yeah, he can be P3. He can be S tier if you're using P3, and if
All
not,
right.
then you might have to tower push bases a bit. Oh well.
All right, let's set him there for now. That's a lot of justification, I think. I'll have to try that out myself. But if you both agree that he's S tier, who am I to contradict you? Kerrigan.
I mean,
where do you put him? 2-2.
Kerrigan that's not P3 is F tier. Kerrigan
F-tier.
that is P. If Kerrigan's not P3, you have a hard time killing props.
Yeah.
Kerrigan that's P3, I'm assuming P3 because you have longer range. It's Artanis level. So like Artanis or like B or C because
B or C.
stopping props is easy, but offense is kind of hard because you need
Makes
like
sense.
mutalisks.
my question: for defending propagators, would you use lurkers or?
Just
Neither.
Kerrigan.
You just press Q 2 times and then
Okay,
hide in
just
the
Kerrigan.
Omega Worm.
All right, worms, Kerrigan, got it. And for offense, yeah, I think that she's better than Artanis for offense, even on purely on the basis of what you do is you walk up to like the front door of the enemy base, you step in the
Mobilization
front door, you immobilization wave.
Unload the Mega Worms.
You say, all right, I'll be back when I have it off cooldown again in 2 minutes.
All right.
Bye, guys.
So, yeah. So we are assuming here that Kerrigan is the 3rd prestige, the Desolate Queen.
You have to be P3. You have to be P3, and you need immobilization wave damage mastery.
Yeah, caveat here, guys.
If you don't have those, she is awful. If you have both of those, then she works.
Yeah, so
otherwise she's awful.
This tier list only applies if Kerrigan is P3. If you don't have it, Kerrigan is F tier. All right, Nova.
Correct.
Sticksmender, Nova.
Ooh, let's see. So basically, she's in an interesting spot because your best units to kill propagators are Nova with her own snipe, and that works obviously, and Liberators, which are great and all, except if the propagator gets too close and there are multiple of them, now you're in trouble. Because if you siege up your Liberators to kill the propagators, they shoot the one propagator down, then they get moment of silence, and then they can't unsiege. So the only way to move them out of the way is Griffin Airlift. Otherwise, they'll all get eaten.
How about
So
siege
that's
tanks, though?
really awkward. Siege tanks work as well. And because Spider Mines arm instantly, just barfing Spider Mines on a bunch of propagators is one way to kill a small cluster of propagators. Another thing to note is that if a massive swarm of propagators ending up happening in total disaster case scenario, Nova is right up there with Karax and one of the best at handling that because Karax can Solar Lance, which can kill propagator trains, and Nova. Griffin Airstrike one-shots propagators. This is a very, very big deal.
2-2, how about you?
A tier.
A tier.
Because
Agreed.
Nova handles all the props, and Liberators kill the shards from a long distance, from a far distance, and
Crashers, you mean, but
pretty
yes.
easily.
So your strategy here is Nova is exclusively for poop defense, Griffin
Yes.
and Check for wave defense, and Liberators for offense.
Yeah. I
All
used
right.
P3,
Works.
but I realized P1's probably even better.
P1's probably even
Definitely.
better.
I would say P1's
Alright.
better.
So given that,
Either method works,
yeah,
and
I
I think
guess,
A
but
tier does make sense to me.
it's
To be honest,
way more involved than
the biggest thing we could put her in B tier, but I feel like she's honestly no more involved than Abathur, for example.
yeah.
And in fact, she's less involved than Abathur. And I would just have to note a piece of advice is that if you are going to attempt to use Nova here, resists the urge to use Griffin Airlift for anything other than emergency jumping away from propagators. Use
Cool.
it only to escape propagators.
So
you
avoid-
need that emergency panic button.
Avoid using the panic button too early. All right, Raynor.
S.
S. Why?
Not S. Not S. I think Raynor's not quite S level, but he's probably A. Well,
Probably A. Because of Vikings?
So it's moment of silence propagators. It's like, so how do you deal with a pair of propagators standing next to each other? You suffer immensely. That's what happens.
Yeah. I think they're quite S. I think he's quite S. Unless
he's
you have
definitely not S. He's definitely not S purely because he doesn't have an easy way of dealing with two propagators standing next to each other. Also, your medics only barely outrun propagators, so that's very scary. Do medics even outrun propagators? I don't remember propagator speed.
Not
I
relevant.
think medics outrun
Yeah.
them.
So how do you go about this? What made you say he's S?
I didn't say S.
Oh, who said it?
I said I didn't. I don't think I said S. Maybe I said something that
Thought I
sounded like I
heard
was
it.
saying he's S.
Anyway, so
He's not S. He's not S.
What's
He's
he
not
more
that
like?
high.
I think
he feels like I'm trying to think like how does he compare to Han and Horner? Does he actually feel better than Han and Horner? And I think that the answer is actually no.
yeah, I don't think he's quite hot and he can go bio.
Han the Fleet is a better top bar for this situation purely because the Hyperion can get just eaten by a propagator in one bite. Colin the Fleet can't. So
Yeah.
already you get a top bar advantage there. You have if you want to get Marauders to concussive shell propagators, that's what a lot of people I've seen do because they're like, aha, I can slow the propagators down, and that works and all. But then you just realize that the Marauder is literally concussive shells is literally a weaker tar bomb in that case because it slows by less.
Yeah.
And it's on a lower damage unit and a slower unit. And
How about
it's
you?
like
How about you, Tutu? What do you say?
D.
D.
D tier. D. Dog.
I don't
right
have-
next to Phoenix.
I don't have an issue with D. I think
I didn't think he was that bad, but I was thinking like B
reason-
or C.
Let's see. So, with spider mines count as buildings, so props will walk toward them, and if there are two that spawn at if two walk towards the spider mines, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yep.
He has trouble fighting the thrashers unless you just mass banshees, which I did with P3.
Yep.
And if you just defend with lots of tanks, then you have nothing for offense. So, yeah.
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 Kinda feels bad, man.
So basically, yeah, it's actually even worse than I thought with the whole if two propagators stand next to each other, you suffer immensely. Okay.
I guess the biggest
It is.
difference between Han and Horner and Raynor is that your top bar doesn't need to stay near propagating range, and like even if the hybrid explode, the call down fleet still shoot. The Hyperion stops, and the Hyperion
That's true.
drops a point defense drone which can't be pooped.
Mm-hmm.
The fleet
Also,
does not.
Also, mag mines can kill propagators so that you don't even have to be paying
Speaking of
attention.
mag mines, you can defend using just mag mines.
Yes. Yeah, Horner's a lot better. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, no, the more I think about it, Raynor, Raynor's gonna have a really bad day. Yeah.
Alright, Stet Boy.
Ooh.
What do we say?
Are we saying D? I think he's also D, isn't he?
I
Tutu?
guess if you have Bailings for the poop defense and Super Gary solo pushing exclusively,
The
and you
problem
have-
is if there's multiple propagators next to each other, then your banelings are in an awkward situation because they have to kill the propagators fast enough that moment of silence doesn't have time to go off.
If
Because moment of
I
silence goes off and there's still a propagator alive, then they will start eating your banelings.
if I had to fight propagators here, what I would do is get Super Gary, activate Gary Zone, fly to the back of the enemy base, drop a single satellite at the hatchery, nexus, or command center, and just hope that all the poops aggro toward that instead of Gary. And since the primary structure of A1 is so big, the poops actually can't hit the satellite as long as
That
it's
requires a
dead
lot of
center.
knowledge.
A lot of knowledge, yeah, and I don't recommend that to especially to guys who need this video to know who's the best commander.
Yeah. I mean, we can give that as pretty tip that's like actually pretty easy if you've been given the tip. You get Super Gary, you go onto Speed Zone, you activate the personal stat zone for Gary, which means that he now has the speed. You rush to the back of the enemy, so behind the fourth set of Thrashers, that base that you probably, like, you may not have ever even seen if you don't pay that much attention. It's like behind the fourth set of Thrashers.
And then drop a satellite in the middle of the primary structure. And the poops will try to reach it, but they can't. So they'll just get stuck there. But I don't recommend, if you're the kind of guy who needs these videos to learn how to beat the mutation, don't do that.
It's an easy enough thing to attempt, and the worst thing that happens is the worst thing that happens is you get an extra propagator, or you just like end up with Gary sitting in the middle of nowhere. It's like, oh no, teleports to a satellite in my base. Anyways, nothing really bad can come of you attempting that, so give it a shot. But
given that,
either way,
do we think Statboy's in the same boat as Raynor?
Yeah. Worse, honestly.
Worse.
Like, what's your good ranged unit? Hydralisks. Well, they're not hit scan.
Yeah,
I don't think hit scan matters that much.
Well,
as long as you have enough of them, but I didn't use them.
Still, it's like,
what did you use?
What did you use?
I used banelings. So Gary pushes everything, and then later on I get corruptors to fight from the side. And I put all my satellites in the air.
Are we saying
where
E?
props can't reach?
Is he Egon tier?
Yeah.
Egon tier.
Like, if you don't know what you're doing, he's gonna ruin everything.
Yes.
He's gonna if you
don't
know
know
what you do.
The idea of corruptors, I didn't think of that. That's a good idea.
If you don't know what you're doing, he's F-Gon tier.
Oh, and if two props come at once, you overcharge the closest satellites so that the props can't eat it. Then you Igor once or twice, and they both die.
Honestly, looking at the competitors for Stetmann and trying to think of who would actually be worse than him, I think that when we do the bell curving, he's going to get demoted to F tier.
Okay,
I don't see anyone here who looks worse than Stetmann.
All right, let's go to Stukov. What do we say?
Stukov. Also,
Diamondbacks.
Possibly A. Possibly A even.
I think he can be A if he uses Diamondbacks.
This is a funny thing. It's like everyone's probably coming in here expecting Stukov to be really low tier because these are like, relatively they use simple.
But Diamondbacks are good.
They're expecting these sets that are gonna get propagated. He's gonna be a terrible.
All right.
A tier.
Yeah, A tier because of
what does he do for offense?
Diamondbacks are still good for offense.
Your tanks have more attack range than the aggro range of the base defenses.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, well, actually, yeah. Given that, offense, you'll have to bleed out forces, but you can replace it with the first prestige. Frightful Flesh Roller.
Yes, you can replace them if they die, but will you even have to replace them? Because, like, literally, infested siege tanks have. Here's the thing: it's not as strong as the people in A tier, but it's a lot easier because you guys are assuming that people are going to do an okay job at sniping Thrashers with Liberators or Leviathans. You just put tanks in front of the ramp into the base, and they'll kill everything for you. You don't have to have map knowledge. You don't have to target fire Thrashers. You don't have to know how to go around the edges of the thing. You can just play normally like an A-move player does.
How about this? Top of the B tier, and then we can adjust later. If we promote him to A, we have to demote someone to B. Yeah. I think that's how we'll go about it. Okay, Swann.
Swann. If you use P1, Swann is really, 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 really good because the laser drill is a global way to slow and AoE slow. That is, if you get a massive blob propagators, you can slow propagators by 70% with the laser drill on.
Well, how about offense?
Siege 1. Offense.
Just play normally. Siege tanks and Goliaths.
Wraiths.
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 100% Wraiths. Wraiths are the best offensive. Okay, well that's just because once you get good at Swann, you start to discover that his Wraiths are a pretty good unit, and that's his only good unit. Once you really get a hang of Swann, you start to discover that like everything that isn't a Wraith is bad and not worth your time.
It's really micro intensive though.
That's the problem, is that Wraiths are relatively
why he's
micro.
not
You
gonna get a
can't
higher.
trust.
So basically, here's what I would say for Swann. Your defense is remarkably good with P1. You have remarkably good defense. Your offense is going to be mostly relying on your ally to do it for you, so that's not great. So that's why I would say probably either low B or high C, because he's rocking good at defense, but he can. That's it. He can do half the equation.
So do you think he's Buan or Quan? How about you, Tutu? What do you think?
His defense is so good that if you just put like the blaster release, laser, and a few tanks, you just focus completely on offense. You don't even have to look, and then you focus your micro on the wraiths. So
That's fair.
I would say he's like C or B.
C or B?
Yeah, that's what we're thinking. You're coming to the same place as all of us too. It's like we're just thinking, is he C or is he
his offense
B?
is just so bad.
His
compared
offense
to-
is
Well,
so
okay.
bad.
How do we compare him to someone like Dehaka? Swann versus Dehaka. Who has an easier time?
Dehaka.
By how much?
Dehaka.
Well, Swann is less stressful because you don't have to worry about props. It's just you worry about the thrashers killing your
You
face because
just
your offense
worry
is so
about
slow.
Well, he's better than Artanis.
By how much? How about we vacate everyone a tier lower and then put Swann in his own C tier? Here you go. How about the Swann tier? How about that?
That works. Yeah, because he's a lot better than Artanis. Because Artanis, like, the only thing that was going for him, in my opinion, that was keeping him that high, was the fact that he could like summon defense in emergency scenarios. Your laser drill summons defense. How do you have it? You might not even notice there's a propagator. Your laser drill does it for you.
All right, let's settle on that for now. How about Tychus? What do you think, Stickspender? How about Tychus?
Moment of
think
silence
Moment
is
of Silence,
really
yeah.
annoying.
Annoying for Tychus.
Really annoying for Tychus.
Is that enough to put him down to like?
One tip:
Yeah.
Crooked Sam can stun propagators with the stunning
Yeah, of
thing
course,
on
of
Crooked
course.
Sam. That's really helpful.
Most players will probably go for that.
All
So
things
what?
considered,
So what do you
B.
think? B?
B.
How
He's
about you,
actually
Tutu?
got offense.
How about you, Tutu?
Actually, the more I think about it,
Ah.
the more I think he needs to be lower than B, because his defense is going to require you to multitask and have control groups. Never
Multitasking.
mind.
His multitasking, like you need to multitask a lot, whether it's
Mhm.
Lone Wolf or not, and
Mhm.
you also need to know the medevac pickup when Moment of Silence comes.
Sounds like
Which-
Swann level work to me.
Yeah, I started to
Alright.
I started to think about like, wait, am I like how much multitasking am I doing for defensing? And I started I started like mentally going through a game with Tychus against this mutation, and I started to realize I have 5 control groups. Nope, this is not B tier. This is not B tier.
Yeah.
You only need 3.
My mental playthrough had 5 control groups, and it was just like, nope.
Okay.
That's
you
not
don't
gonna
need
So
work.
Vorazun.
You probably only
By the
need
way,
3,
for
but-
Tychus we assume Lone Puppy, the second prestige. So if you don't have that, you probably
It doesn't have to be Lone Wolf. I
Yeah.
would probably do this one with. I might actually do this one with P1.
Okay, that's fine then.
Anyways. Lone Wolf is just generally strongest, but you know, P1 is lazier.
All right, Vorazun.
Okay, so Vorazun's in she's in an interesting spot. And by that I mean she's really she's gonna demand a lot of micro skills, but that's it. If you're good enough at micro, you can just brute force it with micro. It's simple, but not easy.
Yes.
That's Vorazun.
I think we're referring to the same
easy.
thing here. Are you referring to the one with time stop?
That, and more importantly, how are you going to deal with propagators? Dark Templar. How are you going to kill them without getting eaten by propagators? Use
Shadow Fury.
exclusively Shadow Fury.
Yep.
Never, ever basic attack with your Dark Templar unless it's during time stop right-clicking Void Thrashers.
Yep. Anyway,
there's an easier
Yeah.
method.
yeah.
What is your method?
There's an easy. My method
Or-
is
Oracles.
oracles.
Stasis
Oracles.
ward.
You just
Stasis
stasis
ward.
ward. Stasis ward oracle. Oracle waits in a dark pylon to get energy. Time stop, snipe, run away. Repeat until dead.
That's so much easier. You're right. I forgot. Right, oracles, because stasis. You get the upgrade for stasis ward. You can attack enemies in stasis. Then you just litter the map with stasis wards, and the propagators are just going to spend their time sitting around in stasis, and you can shoot at them, and they can't fight back. Also,
Makes sense.
disruptive web blocks propagators from attacking you if you decide to get corsairs, but I wouldn't recommend bothering with corsairs. And black hole also works on propagators.
All right, so
you put the webs in front of your cannons and just let the cannons do the fighting.
are they B?
There's
Is Vorazun B?
also-
Is Vorazun
You
B?
know, the more I think about it, the more I realize she might actually not be that hard. A, I think.
A? What do you
Not
think?
A.
Not
Not
A?
A.
Not quite?
Yeah,
Not.
not
It requires a lot of
Is it the early game that you're worried
pressing
about?
a lot of pressing T to make stasis wards.
That is true.
Yes.
That is
I
true.
can't. I have never seen anyone on the solo queue make any stasis wards.
That's true. Okay, so
And-
we'll put her in B then, maybe.
Still B. Still
Right.
pretty good. Time stop snipe.
She's still
Yes.
pretty good. She's still very good. Time
Yeah.
stop snipe is
One-
amazing.
One more thing is that like you have to pay attention to the stasis wards that get used because sometimes they'll take a path where you have no stasis wards
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
they need a cannon.
All right.
That's
Next.
true. One also thing that I'll just bring up for Vorazun because it's funny. If
Yeah.
you are planning to play Vorazun and you want to really have, if you really like to live dangerously, you can play P2 Vorazun, and then your zealot.
No,
stun
I'll stop
works
you
on
right there. I'll
propagators.
pause the video. All right. Vorazun B tier. How about Zagara? I think Zagara's A, guys.
Yeah,
Banelings.
I think A tier for Zagara
Scourge.
as well because of her Banelings and Scourge. Yeah.
I played the
possibly
game.
S.
What? What?
Not S.
Not
Not
S.
S?
Not
Not
quite
quite?
S. Yeah.
Okay.
She's not quite S. But like, I
It is
played a
lot of
game
work.
with a Stetmann ally as Zagara, and I still made it look like nothing. Because like, Zagara's Banelings for the ground waves and the poops, Scourge for the thrashers and the last spot. Like, it's life's easy when you play Zagara. This is the commander you want to play. If you think you're slow at the game, Zagara's the commander you want to play. I think she's A. What do you think, guys?
Yeah. Honestly, I
don't-
kind of think she's S because it's just so simple to Baneling and Scourge things.
What do you think, Tutu?
I don't think she's S. I don't think she's A because
Really?
the last part, like, when all the props spawn in the middle, like you have to, I guess you have to scourge them, but you also have to deal with the banelings, and if you mess up, or like if they're too close to each other, then you're in a lot of trouble.
So-
They're splitters.
We did establish though. We actually like double checked this and verified this. We established that Banelings actually, if the Banelings are moment of silence, then what will happen is this: if a propagator eats the Baneling as moment of silence, then it will successfully eat the Baneling and make a new propagator. And the Baneling will split into two splitters. The splitters won't be
Will
under
do
the effects of
damage.
moment of silence, and therefore the
Yes.
splitters will immediately turn around and attack the propagators. If you make sure you remember to research the rupture upgrade, then this process will repeat as the propagators. Whenever a propagator creates a new copy of itself, the new copy has the same health as the propagator that ate your unit. So slowly but surely, if you have a bunch of Banelings under moment of silence and a bunch of propagators meshed together in a ball, eventually the propagators will die from eating too many Banelings. They'll die of indigestion. So Banelings will always work against propagators. It's just sometimes they'll be really inefficient in the number of Banelings you need. But the best way to do it is just have enough Banelings that you immediately smash the propagators. You kill them all before the moment of silence even goes off. And I don't think it's that hard, honestly.
My
But
issue is
P1,
offense.
by the way.
Thomas offense, yes.
But
it's true that you will need a lot of
Scourge,
juice,
you
but
just-
like,
You just right-click Scourge on Void Thrashers.
I think we've established before that Zagara soloing is hard, but like we never assume
Yeah.
solo here. With any bit of help from your ally, you don't need to burst down the Thrasher all by yourself. You can just wait on your ally to throw stuff at the Thrasher. So you don't have to sacrifice like 50 Banelings every time to the Thrasher. Like you only really need to spend your juice at the last base.
You know what? Honestly, okay. Now that so here's the thing. I guess thinking about it, I won't put her in S tier for one simple reason. If I look at the S tier commanders compared to Zagara, then the difference that I see is that neither of those two commanders need to worry if propagators decide to spawn on opposite ends of the map, because both of those commanders have fully automatic defenses that will handle the propagator without issue.
But I'm not saying she's A. I'm not saying she's S. I'm saying she's A.
And yeah, honestly, Zagara I think should go in.
I will never not recommend Zagara against propagators, because if there's one thing that noobs know how to do, it's to run Bailings at propagators.
Yep.
And that always works. That always works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't worry, there's no shortage of people recommending Zagara, because I know that that's like every time there's propagators, Loco immediately is recommending Zagara.
And he's right.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Alright, let's put Zagara on A. I mean, if you have a strong case, like a strong case for putting her in B, even with an ally, I think I'd hear you out, but like, ultimately, with an ally, she's plenty strong with an ally. How about Zeratul?
So, Kader and Monolith slow propagators, so that's immensely helpful. They don't stun them, because they're heroic units, but they slow them. It's a big deal.
Yes.
They also have 15 range, so they give you a lot of time to respond to propagators.
I think even if the triple blink will be really useful here.
Triple blink is useful. If you want, you can. Nah, never mind. I won't recommend Dark Temple. That's too hard.
Yeah,
too easy to mess up.
Yep.
Too easy to mess up. Yep. Stalkers or mass cannons, Zeratul. Either way works.
Cannons. Yes, cannons will be very effective against Moment of Silence. But if you want more punch, like if you want more instant punch, like triple blink is pretty good at like deleting stuff. And especially if you want to cut against propagators, that if you're unsure of the timings of the propagators, triple blink is more is safer, I guess, because you don't have to risk getting your cannons pooped.
The only reason I'd advocate for cannons is because the cannons can defend themselves when they're not projecting. When they're not projecting, they can defend themselves.
The risk of going cannons here is that once the poop spawns and you're not aware, you're not paying attention. You can have a poop train.
Your cannons, yes.
You can have a poop train hitting your base, but if you have ambushers, you can just triple blink and have a lower risk of getting pooped in general. That's why.
Either way, he's definitely not S tier. He's probably somewhere in there with the A tier, maybe B tier.
I think the highest he can be is B. Just because
I think B as well.
Yeah, I think the B is the high. Oh, what do you think?
Propagators are scary.
What do you think?
B, because he requires a lot more work.
Yes.
Than the other ones.
Yeah, I don't think.
His defense is really good.
Also, none of your legions can work against propagators. That's a pain.
All right, I think we have the tier list now. Who do we say we'd consider again? Do we think Stukov is good enough to replace one of the guys in A?
No.
I would replace Abathur with Stukov personally, because I think that Stukov is much easier than Abathur.
If there's one commander who Stukov can replace just because it's easy, yeah, it's Abathur. But like, if you're any good with Abathur, Abathur will never get A. yes. Now that you mentioned, Abathur will never get A, just because no one knows how to use Abathur, which is unfortunate. Abathur's unfortunately so underrated because no one knows how to use him properly. Like I've seen,
his skill floor is higher than like the entirety of the people we're recommending stuff to. So it's like, how do we ever recommend Abathur?
It's so unfortunate.
Oh, they should watch my P3 run.
Oh no! You did a P3 run?
I did not.
Yeah, I did. It was hard.
Oh no! Yeah, no kidding. That'd be hard. P3 Abathur is so bad.
Okay, how about this, guys? How about we say that for people who know what they're doing, this is the tier list. But for people who don't know what they're doing, we switch these guys around. How would you say to that?
For people who know what they're doing, there's a couple commanders who could actually move up a little bit. Most notably Swann. But whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the most notable for people who know what they're doing. If you know the offense well enough, Swann's defense is so easy that the only thing that you need to do is know how to do offense. Unfortunately, knowing how to do offense with Swann is quite difficult, so we're gonna have to pull him back down to C.
Yeah. But if you know what you're doing, you can pull them up to B. I think. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway. So yeah, does this look like
Bell
I
curve's a
think,
little off.
yeah, it's not bell covered yet, but I think in a vacuum, I think this looks fair actually.
This looks pretty fair.
So Swann better than Kerrigan and Artanis. I guess just because static defense, you'll never have to worry about
He can actually kill propagators, whereas those two actually have to work to kill propagators.
My one concern about Swann is that some people are so bad that they can't even macro up enough tanks to hold off poops. And
honestly, my recommendation is don't use tanks at all. Just use blaster billies and P1 laser drill. Go P1, get your laser drill upgrade, get your blaster billies, and don't make a tank. Don't make any tanks. Just turrets and wraiths.
Yeah.
And yeah, wraiths are how you're gonna kill the
Swann is just
attack wraiths.
I don't know. Swann is just inherently just people just don't inherently figure out what to do with Swann. Just I've seen a lot of Swann players who just go straight to either mass Goliaths, never make a single siege tank. I've seen Swann players who just I don't know, drone spam for gas juice at the start of the game and do nothing else.
Honestly, you know what? You might not go wrong to go straight to Goliaths instead of tanks here, because Goliaths, as long as you get the range upgrades, the Armory one and the Tech Lab one, their anti-ground range is like 8 or something on a hit scan attack, which decent. Just that's gonna kill propagators quite effective.
I've been using
it still doesn't have range moment of silence, but like
I've been using mass stores lately, guys. Mass stores is pretty fun.
Mass stores
clunky and expensive, yes, but pretty fun.
Hey, does their stun work on propagators?
I'm not sure. I haven't.
Good question.
Like...
I'd have to try that. It might. Their stun may or may not work on propagators.
There's gonna be Swann players. There's gonna be Swann players who will complain that why did we put Swann 2 tiers below Stukov when Swann has cyclones?
People are going to acknowledge that cyclones. People are going to remember that cyclones exist.
I don't know if you've been playing this game long enough, but back in 2016 there was a guy called Rasmussen who kept spamming cyclones on the Battle.net forums. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I remember him. That was the only guy, right? No one else knows that remembers that cyclones exist, right?
It's pretty funny though. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, I'm not crazy at least.
Stukov is just way better. His Diamondbacks are way cheaper and they're much easier to use.
And his tanks are better than Swann's tanks. It is not even close. His tanks are so much better. I
mean he has the best tanks in the game. I mean aside from maybe Nova, but like, yeah, he has the best tanks in the game.
Yeah, Novas are Spider-Mine. Novas are just Spider-Mine generators.
Yep.
They're not even really real
like
tanks.
Real expensive vultures.
Yes.
Anyway, so in the vacuum, this is our tier list. How about we Belcarified it?
Let's Belcarify it.
What we'll probably do is demote a few guys from. We'll demote one guy from A, and we'll demote
and then 2 guys from B.
Yeah, 2 guys from B. So who do we demote from A? I'm not gonna demote Zagara. I'll keep Zagara there. I'm just letting you guys know.
I think I'm looking at Nova.
Nova? That's B?
No, Stukov. Because offense.
Okay, so you're assuming, here's the problem with Nova. So let's assume that we have someone who's one of the actually, like, I think you're forgetting this is probably the majority of people here. People who just can't use Liberators, period. How are you going to play Nova without Liberators at all?
Why are you handicapping yourself? It's like...
I think. So I never really understood what was hard about Liberators, because when the Liberator was first added it was so intuitive to me.
I don't think anyone's arguing that we shouldn't use Liberators, but what we're saying is that there are people who just can't
use Liberators.
They don't have the confidence. I don't think. Here's what I think, guys. all of you, yes, you watching this video, all of you have the ability to use Liberators. The
That's
problem
true.
is confidence. Number 1, confidence. Number 2, practice. Those are the only things you need. You as long as you know how to use a mouse and a keyboard, you're not too slow to play StarCraft 2. You're not too slow to play StarCraft 2. You just need confidence and practice because they're really fun to use. And I'm telling you guys now that you can do it. You just need practice and you need confidence in yourself to do it. That's my inspirational speech. Thank you for coming. That being said,
that said, I don't think I could convince that many people to use Liberators. Further, even if you do use Liberators, you are assuming that people are also going to have the confidence to be using Liberators in order to snipe Thrashers from the side, not going for the straightforward method of brute force. Like I think that we have to realize that a lot of the people watching this, no matter how much we try to hammer into them, no, you don't brute force it. You snipe Thrashers from the dead airspace surrounding the enemy bases. A lot of the people are just going to brute force it through the front door. And you know what? Here's the thing. Most of the people watching this are probably going to be playing solo queue, and if they don't brute force it through the front door,
their ally will. Yep.
Their ally will brute force it through the front door. And so the fact that Alarak and Stukov both use brute force it through the front door approaches is a huge advantage to them. The fact that Nova does not do that is a problem. The fact that Zagara is in a weird spot where she's like a hybrid between the two, where it's like you can just A-move, smash Banelings, and Scourge into the enemy base and it'll work. But the most efficient way to do it is to, use the sides to get the Scourge in there and go around the defenses and snipe Thrashers. But you really can just run in there and it will work. Nova actually forces you to not brute force through the front door if you want to.
You can use Liberators in the front door. You just kill more stuff.
Yeah,
just a lot harder.
Airstrike. Anyway.
That's like Alarak, you can use a mothership and a War Prism.
I would nominate Nova for the B tier demotion.
How about we demote both Stukov and Nova so that we have 2S and 2A?
I'm okay with that.
Necessary, but okay.
We have we demote one more from B down to C.
And then we'll demote one from C to D, or?
Nah, I think this is enough. Demote one from B to C. Well, by the way, guys, there's some talk in the comments about why the belt curvifying is necessary in the first place. It's not necessary, but I like doing the belt curve just because we want to get we already know how the commanders fare in a vacuum against the mutation itself. What we're doing is comparing the commanders against each other. We want to have the higher tiers to really be super recommended compared to the ones in the lowest tiers.
The higher tiers need to be that's actually a good commander for this.
And we don't want to have
they're one of the many commanders that work just fine here. No. Those commanders are the ones to go for.
Yeah. Anyway,
and I say that, and then I look at Alarak and A tier, and I say, wait, what are we doing here? But okay. It feels a little weird to have Alarak in A tier, but I can't think of a better candidate. So Alarak gets to stay at A tier.
Yeah. So, we demote someone else from B down to C.
Vorazun.
Vorazun? Yeah, sure.
Don't say Vorazun!
Yeah, I actually like Vorazun, but in this case, just these other guys just are so much easier to do. That even you see my strategy. If you've been watching my channel for more than a year now, even more than 6 months now, you know that whenever I see a Void Thrashing mutation, I just get my 4 control groups of Dark Templar, hit time stop, and then snipe the Thrashers, and then just Dark Pile and recall back to base. And that's it. You don't need Shadow Guard, you don't need any prestige, you don't even arguably need that many mastery points. You just time stop, right click Thrashers using each control groups, Dark Pile and recall back to base. Rinse and repeat, and then it's game over for Amon. But given that these commanders are just, stronger, and you can, for example, for Stukov, you don't need control groups. You just F2 and A.
Tanks and
for Dehaka, you only need a single control group for Dehaka. For Nova, you need one for Nova and one for the Liberators. For Abathur, maybe more, but it's Abathur. He has Toxic Nests to deal with poops, so given that, I think Vorazun's definitely going down to C. Anyway, I think this is the bell curve, guys.
If I were to make a demotion from C to D, I would say Han and Horner. But anyways, this is a good bell curve.
Yeah, I think it's a good bell curve. Alright, guys. that's gonna be it for this week's tier list. Go check out Sticksbenders and Tutu's YouTube channels. I will link them down below. And tomorrow. Oh wait, do we do the rankings first? Ranking? Who does better between Arcturus and Karax? Arcturus, right? He's rank
Arcturus.
1. Yeah. Who's better between Alarak and Zagara?
Zagara?
Zagara? Alright.
Zagara.
So Zagara 3, Alarak 4. Who's 5? Nova? Or Stukov? Nova? Dehaka? Abathur.
Stukov. I would say Stukov, Abathur, Nova, Dehaka, I think.
Stukov,
would be my ordering.
Abathur. Stukov,
I
Abathur.
just switch Nova and Dehaka.
How about you
That's what I would
two?
say.
What do you say? What do you say? What do you say about the rankings in B?
Tutu?
Okay, how about
we
the
overwhelmed
rankings
him.
in C? What do you say about the rankings in C?
Tychus is the best one here. Tychus is definitely the
Tychus.
top of C.
Alright.
Han and Horner, I'd be tempted to say we should have put them in D, so they
Well,
are
let's-
definitely the bottom
yeah.
of C.
Bottom of C.
And Vorazun, probably better than
Wouldn't it-
Zeratul.
Wouldn't it make sense for the people who were demoted from B to be at the top of C?
I think it makes sense, yeah. They were B, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's right. And for some reason, my brain lapsed and I forgot the whole Tychus amount of multitasking thing. So again, I'd put Tychus below Swann.
Alright.
I'd put him back below Swann. It's like I forgot,
is-
like just. It's like every time I look at Tychus, it's like he's so strong, and then I remember how
How much
involved
work
he
you need
is.
to do. Okay,
How involved he is. It's like, oh wait. No,
so who's better?
Tychus and
Artanis?
Swann were
versus Swann.
both C.
Hmm?
Tychus and Swann were both C, and now they're above the two Bs.
Zeratul. No,
previously.
they're not. Zeratul was the previous B. Han and Horner was Han.
Yeah.
Han and Horner was a previous C.
There were
Yeah.
only two
Yeah.
Cs.
Mhm.
Tychus and Swann were the only two Cs.
Oh really? Han and Horner was up there. I
Yeah.
did. I think that the fact that Jimmy is down in E now means that Han and Horner were probably way overrated to be in B. I think they're the worst of the Cs.
Yeah. Anyway, so who's better? Artanis
They
or
have a
Kerrigan?
really, really bad. Han and Horner have a terrible day if there are two propagators next to each other. Remember?
Yeah.
Artanis is better than Kerrigan.
Artanis. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's put that in D. How about E? Who's better, Phoenix or Raynor?
Raynor.
Phoenix.
Really?
I love it.
Because, well, one Warbringer handles props.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Warbringer. Yeah.
Alright.
Alright,
All
so
right.
here's the rankings. 1 Arcturus, 2 Karax, 3 Zagara, 4 Alarak, 5 Stukov, 6 Abathur, 7 Nova, 8 Dehaka, 9 Vorazun, 10 Zeratul, 11 Tychus, 12 Swann, 13 Han and Horner, 14 Artanis, 15 Kerrigan, 16 Fenix, 17 Raynor, and 18 Stetboy. A bit weird this week. The top two are not. Yeah, the Zerg are not in the top 5 or not the top 2 this time. Interesting.
Good news, everyone. We dispelled the Zerg apocalypse for once.
For 1
I
week.
wonder if it'll be back next week. I don't remember what the mutators are next week, so I can't say.
The
what
next
the
week is Endless Infection. So Black Death and like extra doodlings, I think. We'll
Void-
talk
if
about that next
Void
week.
launch one, then yeah. Okay.
We'll talk about it next week. I'll see you guys next time. Watch their videos. Yeah.